Fairbanks, Alaska, getting our trip started here at the Discovery steam wheeler paddle boat, and we're going to take a ride down the Chena River on the Discovery 3.
Whose name means the people, and Athabascan Indian is a great representative of her people. And this young lady will be a senior at West Valley High School. Her family comes from Galena, Alaska, on the Yukon River. You're going to learn a lot from her. Right on this point, over on the right, about where that little sandbar is, in August of 1901, a little riverboat stopped dead. And the captain turned to the guy that hired him, and he said, Barnett, we're done. I can't get up to Tanana. I am not going to spend the winter in this godforsaken place. Get off my boat right here. Keep in mind that 1 in 60 Alaskans are licensed to fly, and there are 735,000 of us that live here year-round. So 1 in 60 is a pilot. So here he comes. You can see him on the video over on the right. Now watch this approach. Watch the hang time here. The idea is a small splash, just like Olympic diving. You get the most points for the smallest splash. Look at this control. One float and then the other. Oh, nobody does it better than that. Steve Canacha. All right, we're going to have our little visit, and you guys are more than welcome to listen in. Because tonight she gets on an airplane to start her college career at Wesleyan University in Connecticut. I'm very honored to introduce you to Tekla Monson at Trailbreaker Kennel. Hi, Tek.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Trailbreaker.
We are here on a nice sunny day. Yesterday we had a little rain, but the puppies don't care, do they?
No, they don't. These guys are happy no matter what. You're actually looking at the youngest members of our kennel. These guys are just 13 weeks old. They're having a lot of fun out here with their girlfriends, Flo, and all of us learning and training.
Well, now let's go back 13 weeks. You weren't here, of course, but Laura and Ellen were here, and they were holding those puppies in their hands minutes after they were born. Why that soon?
Well, we really believe in starting a human-to-dog connection the minute they're born. And for the first 9 to 10 days of their life, these puppies' eyes aren't open, so we have to depend on other things for them to become comfortable with us. What we'll do with each little puppy is we'll pick them up individually and we'll blow across their noses. And this scent recognition and the cuddling, that all starts what my mom used to like to call the trust and be trusted relationship.
Well, of course, that was one of the great secrets to success here at Trailbreaker, because the guys used to think your mom was too nice to her dogs, and then they paid attention when she whizzed by them at record time. And of course that continues now. Now it looks like they're playing, but they're really learning here this morning, aren't they?
Absolutely. So we take a lot of care for our puppies because this growing development period is very important. So what we like to do after they start to get their feet under them is we bring them out to this enclosure and we encourage them to jump over the logs. Now it's no sweat for these guys now. They've got strong enough and big enough, and they've got enough confidence to do that, just like their adult friend over there. But if
to us on the far side. Now the second pair are now extreme dogs. They help steer the team. The team dogs are in the middle, and the real dogs are close to the sled. So look at that acceleration, and you notice how quiet I got. Until the test started to go. And that's sugar. That's an ideal idea. So there they go. Now,
how did they get that far?
how good that far? All these guys working together as a team. They're pulling it like it's safe little energy in the surf, just like any endurance athlete. So at the end of the race or long run, we can athletes can get the platform behind it. These guys know and they know
and win races at the same time. And here comes the finish. And Tekla, mighty nice job. I bet everybody's going to get a pat on the head this morning.
These guys did an amazing job this morning. And after every single nice run, we like to go up and down the line and give everyone a nice pat on the head.
You gotta hit the flowers and hit the showers after gym class. Pressure that those glaciers put on the valleys in which they rest. They advance and retreat, and advance and retreat. Sometimes slowly, sometimes quickly, and in so doing, they'll crush that mica schist right down to flour-like dust. And Mother Nature moves it around at her whim. And we have seen a lot of changes here, Ken, that's for sure. A lot of them recently, haven't we?
There's a lot of changes out here, actually. Sometimes there's changes almost as fast as the weather. One of the biggest changes, this island out in front of us wasn't even here about 5 or 6 years ago. And off to our right, at the point right here, you'll see a little sandbar. That is actually wasn't even here a week ago. It's just finally developed. But the biggest change is that the main channel used to be directly in front of the boat right here. It is now migrated away from us. Straight out in front of the boat, you'll see some really tall spruce trees about a half a mile away out there. That's where the main channel is today. It's got a good 7-mile-an-hour current.
Their feet are important as snowshoes, too. They can spread that split toe out and walk right up on top of the snow and not punch down and hurt their knees or their ankles. And the girls grow antlers just like the boys. She's the only female deer that will grow antlers, meaning they fall off every year and are regrown. Now, this is an amazing creature. The caribou sometimes have made the news in the past. If we did anything, would that mean the extinction of the caribou? It's been an interesting experience because we now have 950,000 caribou in Alaska in 32 different herds. And the 2 herds that have lived closest to the Trans-Alaska Pipeline that were predicted to be extinct if we built that thing have grown in population almost 40% during that 35-year period because they adapt and they all.
Hello, thank you for coming. My name is Amy. I'm Yupik Eskimo and Athabascan Indian. I've lived here in Fairbanks my whole life, but my family is from McGrath, which is a village down in southwest Alaska along the Tuscarora River. My family still has a fish camp down there, and it looks very similar to what you can see here on shore today.
Well, now, of course, we're from out of town, so can we rely on your experience for a little tour real quick?
Definitely. If you take a look in front of you in the water, you can see a fish wheel. These fish wheels are the main focus of fish camp, and they're a very efficient way of harvesting a large number of salmon during the short summers that we have here. In the far corner of the campsite, you can see canvas wall tents. And those are what most families will sleep in at fish camp. Those are actually really comfortable. The mattresses inside are made from spruce boughs covered with a caribou hide. And on a cooler day, my grandpa would build a fire inside for us. Next to me on shore are the air drying racks, which is where we hang the salmon after we're first finished cutting it. It's then fully cooked and dehydrated in the smokehouse, which is the permanent structure directly behind me. Once it's finished smoking, we would store the salmon in a cache, which is a structure on stilts back there. Around the very outside of our camp, you'll also see dog houses. My grandpa always brought his dogs to fish camp because they eat the leftover pieces of salmon so that nothing goes to waste. And they also act as a natural alarm system and let us know if any large animals are coming towards our camp. Scoring the salmon. I'm cutting into it at an angle, which helps open the whole fillet up and gives it more surface area once it's inside of the smokehouse.
Here it comes, and you can see how gravity opens that up and will preserve it for quite a while. Beautifully done, Haley. Now, are you headed into the smokehouse right away?
Actually, no. We don't like to put a wet, drippy salmon like this one right into the smokehouse because it might mold. The next thing that we do with the dog food is hang it out here on the air dry rack. And going.
This is the stern wheeler paddle wheel boat down the Chena River that took us here to Chena Village.
The Athabascans lived entirely in a bone and stone culture, meaning every day was a battle for survival. The early Athabascans were hunter-gatherers and were forced to follow herds of game in order to survive. This meant roaming the Arctic and always on the move. The primary animals that they hunted were moose and caribou. The reindeer that you see here are the domestic relatives to the caribou. Caribou often travel in herds along the same migratory path from one year to the next. The Athabascans would learn this path and place snares and fences along it in order to funnel the herd into an area where an individual caribou could be more easily harvested. The larger spruce trees were cleared, peeled, and stacked one on top of each other for the walls. The remaining gaps were chinked with moss. For the roof, younger spruce trees were cleared, peeled, and laid flat across the top, with a layer of birch bark over that because it's water resistant, and then soil would be placed on top of that. Naturally growing from the soil is grass, and I do realize it looks pretty goofy, but it does keep the whole thing from eroding. Is a large-sized timber wolf. It stretches over 7 feet from nose to tail. Athabascans would take cross-sections of the back and use to trim a sunshine ruff, like we saw at our last stop, or also take the whole pelt and make a men's winter parka, like the one you see hanging in front of the cabin.
In the middle.
So here we have Timberwolf, Lynx, Wolverine, Red Fox, Silver Fox, Cross Fox, Arctic Fox, Ermine, Muskrat, Martin, Mink, and Beaver.
Thank you.
Too. They're very, very affectionate. And you know, though they have retired from racing, they still are working in harness and they still serve many important roles for us at Trailbreaker Kennel. You saw me out there with the puppies this morning at Trailbreaker Kennel, and when I'm going to take those crazy young 14-year-old pups for a hike along the trails, I definitely want Chufa or Dea with me. The seasoned veteran dogs are perfect for help training those puppies. When I call one of their names back, I call Stego or Peter back here, those puppies are going to follow that adult dog. And when I'm going to be training a young sled dog in harness for the first time, usually around 8 months old, I'm absolutely going to pair that 8-month-old pup up with a seasoned veteran dog. A seasoned veteran sled dog of 8 years old or 9 years old can teach more to that young 6 or 8-month-old puppy than a human ever could. So that
It's a grizzly right on the front of this cabin. So as we pull away from Chena Village, here on the Chena River, wanted to come to the back of the sternwheeler and take a look at the paddle wheel, which they say is 100% powering this boat.
Well, here we are in Fairbanks, Alaska, up at the end of the road, and Adam and Michelle didn't take a wrong turn. They're actually going to have a great time here in Alaska. They just rode Discovery number 3. My name is Jay, and I've been in a radio guide too, so we're having fun getting to know each other, and want to wish you all well who see this video. And we had a great time out on the Chena River, learned a little and had some fun, and the sun was out, so come on up.
So this is the Alaska pipeline. There's 800 miles of it. Part of it is above ground because of permafrost locations. Frost is when the ground is frozen all year round, so they couldn't bury it underground there, and they have to be careful about where they build houses, and it buckles the roads, permafrost does. 500,000 gallons of oil run through this thing every single day. And that's down from 1.2 million at its peak. We were also told that 90% of the state's revenue comes from the oil in this pipeline to take care of state infrastructure and public services.
That discovery that launched a massive stampede of thousands of folks coming up from the States and the Klondike, Canada, in search of that precious yellow metal. Now these stampeders, these quintessential Alaskan sourdough hunters, would typically bring just whatever it was they could carry and nothing more. Another 2 to 4 hauling the material to and from the bottoms of these shafts here. And another 2 to 4 men up top stockpiling the material, keeping the fires burning, and equipment running, and so forth. Then come coasting back down empty to bang into these logs here and be reset for the next load. Just about something anyway. You get the picture. Amazing amount of pressure built up behind these cannons. They would use these water cannons to absolutely blast away all of the overburden. If you turn your attention to the distant horizon way over there, that tree line, that is the original elevation of this very valley that we're sitting in right now. They cleared away 150 feet of overburden. Oh, wow. Had they not done that, if you can imagine, right now we'd be sitting another 150 feet higher up in the air. That was all permafrost, frozen, organics. Before they could bring the water cannons in, they had to figure out how to thaw that material out. They decided to clear cut everything. They cut down all the trees. They let our nice hot Fairbanks summer sun come in and naturally thaw out just the first few inches of the topmost layer of that overburden, the permafrost. Then they would come in with the water cannons, blast that layer out of the way, move on down the line, let the newly exposed frozen layer thaw out some more all on its own, come back through later on for another pass, blast that layer out of the way, repeating that process over and over again, accumulating to 365 million cubic yards of material that they pushed out of this valley, flushed it all downstream out of the way, with nothing more than the power and pressure behind all these water cannons. This darkest, coldest
So this is gold dredge number 8. They just gave us a little gold panning idea here. These guys were panning their gold, which we're going to be doing in just a little bit. This is a vessel that was used in the 50s to make things a lot easier for the guys who were panning gold, and this would go and basically bring in dirt and filter out rocks and make it easier for them to get the gold. All right, Shell's mining for gold. How you doing, kid?
Good.
All right, she's shaking. How's she doing, John?
Doing good.
All right.
She'll get there. Eventually.
All right, so if you use the real good zoom on that camera, you can see a little bit of gold flakes in there. He said I got about 10 bucks worth. So unfortunately, I still have to go back to work on Monday. So. All right, so this young man is from Alaska, from Fairbanks, and he's going to find out how much gold we panned. That was a lot of fun, man.
Good, good. What's your guys' guess on how much it's going to be worth?
15 bucks.
Oh, yeah, all right.
All on your own.
10 and 15.
$25 in gold. You're kidding. Not at all.
Let's see what the scale says here.
That's a lot. That's a lot for one bag.
Alrighty. So you guys have approximately $29 worth of gold right here.
Not bad.
Excellent.
All right. So this is inside the dredge, and after we were done panning for gold, we were rewarded with some cookies and hot chocolate, so that's just as good as going home with more gold. So these are those buckets that would pick up the dirt, and it would go through the sorter in the other room. And I'm not going to pretend to know what any of these contraptions do. All I know is I'm not going to touch them. So they would take the gold that they dredged up in the dredge, they'd fill it up to the brim in this lockbox. Then they'd put them here in these containers, 700 ounces, and these things are very heavy. And this is our tour of Gold Dredge number 8 here in Fairbanks.